Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good afternoon. I will now call to order the May 20th, 2026 meeting of the Committee of the Whole. Madam Clerk, for the record of this meeting, Mayor Haxon has provided a notification that she's absent with notice, and as acting mayor, I will be chairing today's meeting. The first item on our agenda is any declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from Council, Committee of the Whole? Seeing none, I'll move to our land acknowledgement statement. The town of East Gwillimbury recognizes and acknowledges the lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaties, First Nations, and other Indigenous peoples, and on behalf of Council, I thank them for sharing this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as EG's closest First Nation community and recognize the unique relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and we join them in these responsibilities. Item D is community announcements. Are there any community announcements from committee? Councillor Lahey, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to say that it is the National Public Works Week between May 18th and the 24th across North America, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank our staff working hard in the Public and Engineering Department, and we are accessible to the National Public Works Week celebration, which is free to open house on 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, May 23rd at 80 and 90 Bales East in the town of East Gwillimbury. Families and residents are invited to the Public Works Operations Center and Paramedic Services Headquarters with a full day of free hands-on activities. This year's theme is Rooted in Service, Powered by Community, celebrating the strong foundation that Public Works provide in our everyday lives. And on their website, there's more information, including an opening ceremony by the Chippewas of Georgina Island starting at 10:30 a.m. There's a paint a plow blade showcase where you can vote for your favorite school design, and there is a barbecue lunch hosted by the Holland Landings Lions Club available for purchase of $5. So we look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? I did want to add that on Saturday, speaking of being rooted in tradition, the EG Gardeners are having their annual plant sale. That is on Saturday morning at the Mount Albert Community Center on Main Street in Mount Albert. And the beauty of that sale is that they are all plants that are locally grown, and so we know that they will thrive in East Gwillimbury because they came from East Gwillimbury. And then also just I wanted to put a plug in for Saturday, May 30th, which is the Shabby Chic fundraiser, which is put on by the Friends of the East Gwillimbury Public Library. They're trying something new this year. There's a Friday night preview sale, and it's over at the Temperance Hall. So there's a Friday night preview sale, and then Saturday morning is the actual sale as well. And all those funds that are raised go to the Friends of the Library, which then flow in turn to our public library. So that is the end of our community announcements. I don't see any deputations, Madam Clerk. Are there any further at this time?
Through Madam Chair, none at this time.
Thank you. I see that there are no presentations. Stop me if I'm wrong. And I'm going to move into item G, which is development services, which would normally have me in the chair anyways. So we have two items on our prepared agenda today. The first item is Development Services Planning Branch Report 2026-12, which is a zoning bylaw amendment application for 18363 Leslie Street. And may I have a motion, please? Moved by Councillor Johns. Thank you. Ms. Vivakis, would you care to present your report, please?
Thank you very much. The rezoning application in front of you today is to rezone the lands from rural to site-specific prestige employment zone with a holding provision on it for servicing. The lands are located north of Green Lane East, east of Leslie Street, and west of Highway 404, and are located within the Highway 404 Employment Corridor Secondary Plan, which was approved by the Region of York in 2020. Within that, it's recognized to be employment area. The property is currently vacant and comprises approximately 16 hectares, which I will convert for everyone, 41 acres with frontage on Leslie. The majority of the site extends from east to west, and discussions have been ongoing to extend the Harry Walker Parkway to alleviate any vehicle movements onto Leslie Street. The applicants also submitted a draft plan of subdivision, which we're reviewing, which proposes blocks for both in industrial employment uses, public road and daylight and a road widening. Site plan control application has not been submitted yet, but will be submitted in the future following the zoning bylaws consideration, and it will address the urban design guidelines that are contained in the secondary plan, which contains urban design guidelines specific to development within this secondary plan area. Generally speaking, the lands around the subject site are vacant. There is the daycare, which is located immediately to the south of the site, and then we have commercial and some retail uses to the south, fronting on Green Lane and Leslie Street. To the west, across Leslie Street, we have residential that's being planned. And to the north, while vacant and not currently approved with a residential designation, the Walnut farmlands are recommended to be included as residential, and we're in the 2022 plan. So they will hopefully at some point in the future proceed with the development of those. Conformity, I just wanted to touch upon briefly conformity with the planning policies. The application does conform with both the regional official plan and the employment area policies for the town in terms of the secondary plan. It's designated as employment, and there is also a small piece that's environmental protection areas. The majority of the land is designated for prestige employment, and this is really looking at, I'm going to say, higher quality buildings along the periphery of 404 and over to Leslie Street. The number of jobs, the plan actually has two provisions in the plan that are specific to the site. It has a height limitation of 10 stories on a portion of the site. It also has a 6-story height limitation in the official plan along Leslie Street. And the applicant is meeting both of those, but I'm going to address that a little further in a minute. And it is also contemplated that a significant number of jobs will be created along this area, and in our analysis demonstrates, based on the projected type of employment, that they will meet and possibly exceed the minimum jobs per hectare required in the area. This application was actually before council in February of 2024, and you had a conceptual site plan at the time that showed a number of buildings and an area of approximately 800,000 square feet. Since that time, the applicant has reduced the GFA by approximately 100,000 square feet. And one issue that was raised at the time of the public meeting was the transition. The applicant was showing 7.5 meters of transition, and that has now been increased to 15 meters. So there's been a significant increase in setback. I also recognize that there is a concern about the impact on the Walnut Farms lands. When they come in, part of what we will look to do with the Walnut Farms applicant is also look to see where we can provide a transition zone, or if not, roadway. So we'll take that all into account when we're looking at the Walnut Farms. One key issue that has really happened in the last, I'm going to say 24 hours, is really a change in building height. You won't see that before you. That's really come about as a result of discussions over the course of last week and I guess yesterday and today with Walnut Farms, where the applicant is prepared to reduce the building heights on their property. And I know that Walnut Farms, I believe you should have in front of you a letter to that effect from Walnut Farms indicating that they are satisfied with the reduction in height being proposed. That is really my summary. The last thing I just point out, obviously, because we're placing a holding provision on the site, development will not be able to proceed until we come back to council on the assumption you approve the rezoning and there's a hold. We would have to come back to remove the hold, similar as we are doing with the next application, seeking your approval to lift the holding provision in order to have development proceed. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Voumvakis. Members of committee, any questions? Councillor Crone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. Through you to Ms. Voumvakis, you said that there's been some movement on the height of the building. I didn't catch what was the reduction.
You were listening because I didn't say that. They are looking at reducing it to 50 feet, but I suggest, which is approximately 15.24 meters. That's what my understanding is, but I know that the applicant is here, and it perhaps a question you want confirmation to hear that they're perhaps comfortable with that height limitation.
I'm seeing some nods.
Okay.
Okay. And how many stories is that?
That would be about 4 stories base. It depends on the calculation for an industrial building, but would be approximately 4 stories.
Okay. Through you, Madam Acting Mayor, thank you. That is a significant reduction. So, thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Can I have some more clarification on the height? Because in what's before us says 12 stories. I heard you say 10, and now I'm hearing 4. We need to have some clarity on that. And I want to make sure that whatever we're approving, it's very clear. If there's been changes made, it's got to come back, because I don't want to be approving something that says 12 stories with verbal that it's only going to be 4.
My suggestion is, through the chair, sorry, I apologize for that. My suggestion is we wouldn't put in stories. I don't think stories is the best approach to regulating height. I would rather put in meters, because stories can vary, where if you want to be very precise, you put in meters. Because I believe the concern is not the number of stories, it's the height of the building. So we would change the zoning to reflect a number of meters, not number of stories.
Okay, so stories, meters, I agree with you, meters is better. We have a report before us that says 12 stories.
Yep.
So what am I to do with that?
Well, if it's the wish of committee, you can direct us to reduce the height, and we will return with the bylaw when it's ready for adoption that would reflect any of the changes that you wish to see incorporated today. So my recommendation would be that you direct us to reduce the height to a specific calculations, and I'm saying 15, for the sake of a little leeway, I would say 15.25 as opposed to 15.24. 24 is exactly 50 feet, so that would
Okay.
be my suggestion.
So to me, it's surprising to have something come before us for decision that changes so dramatically from a report before us that says 12 feet, and now I'm hearing, 12 stories, now I'm hearing 4 stories. Or am I like misunderstanding something? To me, that seems like a drastic change in plans.
Ms. Voumvakis.
I don't see it as a drastic change in plans. Often when an applicant comes in, they're going to seek the maximum that is allowed under any of the planning instruments. So the secondary plan that we've adopted actually has a height limitation. So applicants will often seek the maximum, which gives them the greatest flexibility to do what they're going to do in terms of trying to attract an end user. In this case, I can only surmise that the Rice Group has further determined what their actual needs are and would prefer to reflect that in the zoning bylaw, particularly given the concerns of the neighbor to the north. So I think that's why you're seeing this change at the 11th hour.
Okay. So when this had come before us before, there have been concerns about this being a gateway to Sharon, a historic conservation district. The Pioneer Cemetery's right there, and we had asked that some allowances be made for that. Can you speak a little bit to that, about what this will look like as you drive into Sharon?
Ms. Voumvakis.
Thank you, through the chair. I really can't tell you what it will specifically look like, as we don't have a site plan, but I can say, based on the urban design requirements of the official plan, and they're embedded in the official plan, they're not outside the plan, they're in the secondary plan. And given that this is a prestige employment area, we will work with the applicant to try to affect the most attractive design of the building. I can tell you the conceptual site plan, they've addressed some of the urban design considerations in terms of loading and parking. They will be required, from my perspective, which they haven't heard from me yet, so to ensure that not just the most easterly, but the southerly part to the new street when it is rebuilt across from the daycare is certainly an attractive frontage, and certainly to Leslie Street, because the Leslie Street, you are going to see the sides of the building, and that's going to, in many respects, be the face of the building for the town, especially as you're going into the Heritage Conservation District.
All right, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, if I just have one more.
One more,
So we had heard warehousing. So I'm envisioning a 4-story warehouse as you come in to Sharon. And if that's not what you're seeing in conceptual plans, I'm wondering if those could be shared with us. Because right now, I'm not feeling very supportive of what's before us right now in its current form.
So I'm not in a position to actually speak about, because I don't have the plans. I mean, at the zoning stage, you're zoning for use. The official plan permits a broad range of uses. Warehousing is one of them, and I know this is a bit of a challenge, because it's a challenge for everyone, but manufacturing and warehousing is changing over time. You don't see the single-story, multiple-unit buildings that you used to. Here, they're trying to attract a large user, and large users generally want to be in an attractive building because it becomes the signature, it's part of their branding. I can't speak to that at this point in time. The applicant would be better suited to answer those details, but in many respects, you're not seeing the old industrial multiples. You're seeing, you're going to see sort of more tech-oriented development, because many of the developments that are doing warehousing now, and I'll cite Loblaws as an example, have high technology within the buildings. And so they're using a lot of technology as opposed to manufacturing widgets, which you're not likely to see here.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Crone, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. I should have mentioned this in my earlier comments, but I think where, through you, Madam Acting Mayor, to Ms. Vimvakis, where I think Councillor Carruthers was going, where I'm certainly of supportive, it would be, I think it would be, serve everyone well if we have buildings and development that fits in aesthetically with the surrounding area. This is a gateway into our town, and we want it to give us a great first impression for people arriving. So I think if you could work with the applicant in that respect, that would be appreciated. I think we owe it to the residents. I certainly understand the need for economic development, support it, and I'm a champion of it. So I want to be supportive of this project. But if we can continue to work, we've done some good stuff on the reduction of the height of the building, which is great. And if we can keep moving forward to give us the best possible operation here and project, I would be delighted. So thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Johns, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that, one, I'll say thank you for investing in East Gwillimbury. I'm hearing over and over and over again about the opportunity to see increased employment opportunities within the municipality. And these are not small investments that are looking to be made here. And I think that the opportunity to increase our operating tax base, currently right now with only 10% being the commercial and industrial, there's a large opportunity to benefit residents, not just from an employment and jobs perspective, but also from everyday residents being able to benefit from the increased operating tax revenue. I will also say that I did meet with the folks from the Sharon Burying Grounds, and they were recognizing that development would be occurring, and also recognizing it is a private property. But one of their comments was the fact that as people are coming to visit the Sharon Burying Grounds, folks would be stopping along Leslie Street. And the fact that, while it is private property, the fact that there would be parking on that east side of Leslie Street, and specifically on the weekends when folks would be coming into town and coming to visit spots such as the Sharon Burying Grounds, they definitely welcome the opportunity to be able to have parking nearby that folks could use that come off of Leslie Street. And then also, they just wanted to make sure from recognizing we can't speak about site plan, but the opportunity to be able to have some type of appropriate buffering where possible from the Sharon Burying Grounds into that spot. So, Madam Chair, I did hear my colleagues mention about the fact about the height and the 15.25 meters, and I do not want to increase the opportunity for red tape in attempting to slow anything down, and I do recognize that the applicant has worked with his neighbors at Walnut Farms, and I sincerely appreciate that. I think that going from what is a documented, as Councillor Carruthers said, documented 12 stories to 15.5 meters, seeing as I move this motion to table it, I would be amicable to add in those 15.25 meters on the amendment to take then to the next step of council if this body did choose to approve it with the 15.25 meters.
Thank you, Councillor Johns. I've noted the amendment to your motion. Mr. Valtrich, I did notice that you had your hand up. Have we moved past your thought, or are you still feeling something salient?
No, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to suggest that the direction be formalized as opposed to verbal, so I think that's being captured in your amendment. That's helpful to us if we can see that in a formal resolution. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else before I speak? My perspective is slightly different than Councillor John's. It sounds to me like the past 24 hours has been a dramatic time for this application. And I would prefer, instead of doing some, what I'll call planning on the fly, is I'd prefer to see this come back to us. I don't feel ready to be able to approve this zoning at this point. I feel like I still have quite a few unanswered questions, and I have taken the opportunity to meet with staff and to have those questions, to extend those questions. But I would prefer, at this point, absolutely, we want to see the secondary plan and the employment lands move forward. That absolutely, the land use is unquestionable. That is an important distinction for us. The challenge is that at this point, as council, the only time we have the ability to influence what actually happens there is at this stage, at the zoning stage. So we don't get to discuss the site plan or traffic radius or what the building looks like. Instinctively, the secondary plan refers to a building height of a certain height that if it was a 10 or 12-story office building, that might look very different than a 10 or 12-story distribution center. And so I think it's really important that we get this right. This is an important gateway into our community. We have what is probably, I will hazard to say that it is the most important historic cemetery in York Region and potentially in the province, given that the Children of Peace are right there. And I would like to have assurances in writing that there will be vibration monitoring that is going to take place there. There are sizable trees in the windrows. I have not had an opportunity to be advised as far as what kind of trees are in there. In other areas very close by, including the 404 and across the street in Sharon, we have had butternut. And I know that walnut and butternut are very similar. And so while I understand the hesitation in causing more red tape, this originally came to us in February of 2024. It's now May of 2026. I don't see a reason why, unless Ms. Muvak, as you can share with us, why we wouldn't take the time to get this right.
If it is the wish of committee, more than happy to report back on those issues to the extent we can.
Of course. Councillor Lahey, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Chair. I am always considerate of protecting our heritage and our history, and that is one of my priorities. However, what the expert staff have presented to us is that Council approved the zoning bylaw amendment, and I just want to clarify to ensure that I understood what the general manager said previously during your introduction of this, that development would not be able to proceed even if we approve the zoning bylaw amendment, because there would be a hold placed on it. And so how long would you anticipate the hold being placed on it?
Through the chair, excellent question, one I don't have an excellent answer for. Quite frankly, we're at the stage where they have to finalize their plan of subdivision. We would then be dealing with the site plan, although removal of the H could occur beforehand. I'm going to say it will not be happening before the end of this year at a minimum. And I'd have to have further discussions with my colleagues in engineering about servicing capacity.
So through you, Madam Mayor, so my understanding is correct that they would not be able to proceed with any development when a hold is placed on this, even if we approve the zoning bylaw amendment today.
Through the
Correct?
chair, that is 100% correct.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Van Valkens, if you could just speak to this for me. So we had a public meeting February 2024 on this. I don't remember how well attended that meeting was or how that one went down, but it seems to me that we're making significant changes here. A year has passed, or over a year has passed, and we now have significant changes. So are we making sure that anyone who happened to sign in for that meeting is getting information that this development has changed, fairly significantly since the time of the meeting? It's just in the back of my head, something doesn't seem right here. I'm not sure whether I'm going down the right road or not.
Through the chair, those individuals who had requested to be informed when the report would have received confirmation that the report is proceeding, and I'd actually have to look to planning staff to confirm who might have received confirmation. Matt, do you mind just speaking to this?
Thank you, Mr. Doe. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, as Carrie had alluded to, they would have received notification, and beyond that, the updates are also posted on the town's website as well.
Councillor Foster, I can share with you that Walnut Farm changed ownership in that period of time. And so the notification from one party to another may not necessarily have transferred, which is why I think we got a letter from the owner of Walnut Farm at such a late hour.
Right, so even today, with the changes with the height that we're prepared to make, are we sure that that information is going to go out to those same people on the list? Because again, significant changes.
They would see the change in height at the time of enactment of the zoning bylaw. They wouldn't see it happening here unless they're watching the meeting.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Johns?
Thanks, Madam Chair, and through you. Looking for clarification, because the comment about going back and taking a further look, and I recognize that we cannot speak to site plan anymore. That's not our purview. So if I'm taking a step back, I want to look at it kind of from another angle. Ms. Voumvakis, you opened with this plan conforming with the secondary plan and the regional plan with prestige employment at the, and as Councillor Carruthers called out, 12 stories, 10 stories. Could you clarify through you, Madam Chair, what is this actually conforming with in the secondary plan from a height perspective and the regional plan?
Ms. Voumvakis?
Through the chair, it conforms with the height limitations. It is within the height limitations as originally proposed and presented to you in this report. It conforms with the height. There's 6 stories along Leslie Street frontage, which is in the commercial, and then 10 stories on the remainder.
Okay, so thank you. And then, so in follow-up, Madam Chair, I guess the reason why that I do feel strongly about this 15.52 meters is significant, again, as my colleagues called out. I am just concerned about the opportunity of this body possibly walking away from an opportunity to be able to document the 15.25 meters should this motion fail. I think that the opportunity, I actually strongly believe that going forward, we should be discussing development charge deferrals for commercial and industrial to help encourage employment growth and increasing our operating tax base. I just don't want to walk away from a 15.25 meter that we have control of right now. And I'm not sure what next steps would be, but I know that we can control this point, this moment in time with this motion before us. And I've moved it. I agree with the 15.25, which is a big cut. And while we're still encouraging employment and operating tax base growth. So I still remain supportive of this motion as is.
Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Through you, Madam Acting Mayor, to Ms. Voumvakis, can you speak a little bit more about removing the hold? Because I don't want the impression to be left that at some future point we could change zoning. When we vote on this, the zoning changes and the zoning is changed. And the removing the hold is just allowing them to proceed. And it would be, I can't think what the word is, disingenuous maybe, to hold on to that, thinking that we could change something else by holding on to by not releasing the hold. Is that correct?
Through the chair, you are correct. The hold is specific to a particular condition that has to be satisfied, and that condition in this instance would be servicing capacity. So there is no other changes at that point in time that you can make. You're simply saying servicing capacity exists, we're removing the H, the development can proceed. You can't tinker around the edges with anything else. It's over and done. The time of the zoning bylaw, when you're adopting it, it's one and done, is what I would say, aside from the holding.
Thank you. So given that it's been over 2 years since the statutory public meeting, and not only has Walnut Farms changed hands, I'm sure there's a number of residents in the area that are new or have moved in. I would think that bringing this back, deferring this, so that we can have another look at it, and having that 15.25 right in the motion that we are approving, showing all the questions that have been asked here and the answers to all of those. I think that in the motion to defer, we can put in the 15.25 meters. So through you, Madam Acting Mayor, would you entertain a motion to defer this?
I can. I still would like to have some more discussion. I know that Councillor Crone has indicated that he wanted to speak.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. I think I might have a solution to some of our challenges here. But before I ask that, or share that, I did want to ask one more question. I seem to recall that there might be a retaining wall plan for this proposal. Is that, through you, Madam Acting Mayor, to Ms. Voumvakis, is that true? Or is there going to be a retaining wall to help with some of the buffering and site preparation?
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe that there may be, but specifically, I'm not aware of the specific details. So I'm going to again ask Mr. Doust if he could speak to that, please.
I think that's a good question, Councillor Crone, since distribution centers like the ground to be flat. I'm wondering if you can help us with that. I think
Yes.
there's some significant grade changes in the area.
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't know off the top of my head, so I'll either defer to Kevin or the applicant, but I do know for a fact that there's a fairly considerable retaining wall.
There is a considerable retaining wall.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. I think we can, through you to Ms. Wambachus, maybe there's some opportunities with that to look at, what our experience has been with the Loblaws Distribution Center and see if there's anything we would do differently. But the suggestion I was going to make, I've heard from my colleagues here that some of us have concerns about unanswered questions or residents that haven't been notified yet, and I think those are very valid, very fair. When I came into this meeting today, before I heard about the change in height, I was not 100% comfortable with this because of the height. In a much better place, I'm supportive. But I think, why don't we do it this way? If I could suggest, we defer this for 2 weeks, because we're not going to ratify it until June 2nd anyways. I would be quite happy to do a same-day ratification on June 2nd. I'm just throwing that out there for consideration, but as a way to accommodate the concerns that people have. And then I think we can address everyone's concerns, but we just have to commit ourselves to getting those questions answered. Anyway, I throw that out for consideration. Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Carruthers, you had indicated that you were looking to make a motion to defer. Go ahead, Councillor Johns.
Yeah, thanks. Councillor Crone, I do think that your motion on the, to defer on these 2 weeks has merit. I'm just concerned that everything that was suggested by Councillor Roy-DiClemente, we would not have 10 business days to answer all those questions that Councillor Roy-DiClemente had. And I am concerned that a 2-week deferral is actually not a 2-week deferral. And then further, I'm just looking for clarification, and I'm thinking about developments and the opportunity for applicants to make decisions. The reason why I asked the question previously about conformity with the secondary plan and the regional plan on the building heights, what we are in control of right now in this moment, if the applicant decided, sincerely appreciated Town of East Gwillimbury, could the applicant go to the Ontario Land Tribunal and suggest that 10 stories is what they would wish to see? Does that conform? So through you, Madam Chair, can I get clarity on if 2 weeks turns into longer and the applicant decides to go in a different direction, do they have the opportunity to do that? And this falls out of our control.
Ms. Wambachus, I guess part of where I'm coming from is if we didn't have any movement on it in a year and a half, and then in the space of 24 hours, we cut building height by 6 stories, imagine what 2 weeks could accomplish if we had, anyway, but if you could perhaps address what Councillor Johns has asked as far as process and procedure here, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, the lack of decision can trigger an appeal to the OLT. Having the OLT would look at, in the situation if we were in it, the OLT would look at what the official plan states in terms of heights. It would also look at the other policies in the secondary plan in terms of urban design and other factors. So that is a risk. If you're asking my opinion, do I think ultimately the 2 weeks is a sufficient time to answer all the questions? Possibly some. Some I don't think we will be able to answer because we're not at that level of analysis. Some of these things will come through the site plan, and we're not at that stage. When you're doing zoning, you're doing a box, is really what you're doing. You're taking a potential and you're saying, this is your height, these are your setbacks, so you're setting the framework. Something will be built within that framework and it may maximize the upper limit. So if we said 10 stories, an applicant can maximize up to that. But doesn't mean that they will ever take full advantage of that. They may decide to do 3 stories unless there was a minimum height that we had in the plans. So you're basically at the zoning stage setting the box. You're setting the parameters. Often you don't even know what the development is even going to look like. There are many instances you don't have a conceptual site plan. It's not a requirement. to have a site plan and an application. Do I think we can answer many of the questions? Yes. Do I like the suggestion of Councillor Crone, because I personally like keeping things moving, unless I think that they're terrible, and I don't think this is terrible. So I would like to see it to continue to move, but I'm here just to give you advice. I think the applicant is the person who you may want to ask that question. Will the 2 weeks have any impact on any potential leases they may be entertaining? And I can't speak to that.
So maybe having heard some conversation here at the table, maybe we can find a compromise. Here's what I'm going to suggest. That council, so that we receive the report, and that committee of the whole support in principle rezoning the lands to site-specific prestige employment, and defer the matter to the June 2nd, 2026 CWC in order for further discussions to take place among stakeholders. So that would allow for some conversation. It allows for us to keep this moving, that we support the idea in principle. I don't think any of us have said, no, we don't want this land use. We want this land use. It's just a question of what it looks like. And I think that might be where I would head, but Councillor Carruthers and then Ms. Vouvakis.
I'm happy to support that or move it, depending on how you want to handle it. When I walked into this meeting, it was 12 stories, so it was a non-starter for me. And so now we have new information, and I think it's respectful to give us some time to digest that new information. This retaining wall, to me, is important to have a full understanding of just how tall that's going to be. So I'm happy to either move or support the deferral. I'm not sure 2 weeks is enough. You mentioned a year and a half. It's actually been over 2 years, 2 years, 3 months that we haven't seen any movement on this.
Math wasn't my strong suit.
And so given that things have changed in 24 hours, I don't think we should be feeling that we have a gun to our head going that they're going to go to the OLT when they've made changes in the last 24 hours after we had already received, our agenda had been posted publicly for the public to see. I think giving staff until the end of June. If they have something to come back at the beginning of June, that's great, but giving them to the end of June, I think would be fair, given how long we've waited for this to come back to us.
Ms. Vouvakis and then Councillor Foster.
I would do the best that we could to bring it back to June 2nd. Your agendas will be filled with many things. And I think in fairness to the applicant, having a decision has financial impacts. And so on the assumption that council approves it, that goes one way. If you didn't, that goes another. So I think having a decision that they can then take to the bank and to any of their investors is important. I will have my team do our best to respond to most of the questions. Some of them, though, are site plan questions, so we will not be able to respond to them. However, I can say on the point about the type of trees that may need to be planted, we will work with our other partners to try to address those through the site plan. So we're hearing what you're saying, as I believe the applicant is too.
Thank you. I know that with the additional spacing, with that setback being 50 feet or 15 meters, there may be an opportunity for that windrow to be saved because that's part of that transition. So, Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I may be old-fashioned. When we're sitting in the room and we have staff that are telling me or telling us what they're going to work to, we have the developer in the room that has agreed to some of these things. And given that a lot of the questions we've come up with are site plan questions, I can support it the way it's written, but if 2 weeks does the job to answer everyone's questions, I think that's the way we go. We've got staff telling us that they can answer most of those questions minus the site plan questions, which we understand. I think should pretty much do what we want to do, and we're kind of controlling everybody's interest here if we can.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. So if we can bring this to a close, Councillor Carruthers, I had suggested that we move a motion that we receive, that council support in principle rezoning the lands to a site-specific prestige employment, and refer the matter to staff for a report at CWC on June 2nd in order for further discussions to take place. Any discussion on the motion? Go ahead, Councillor Lahey.
I would like to clarify whether or not the amendment's going to be included that council directs staff to reduce the height restriction to 15.25 meters that we discussed previously, suggested by Councillor Johns.
That would be a good inclusion. Madam Clerk, can you incorporate that into our resolution, please? I ran out of space on my spot to where I was reading.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I'm just mindful that we do have a motion that was originally moved by Councillor Johns. We are
Okay.
now, I believe, discussing the referral motion.
Yes.
So that takes precedent. So
Yep.
we're at that stage. So we are dealing with that. And in addition to that, perhaps, given the timeline, you may want to seek same-day ratification so that the actions can't start taking place for the June 2nd deliverable.
Right. We've kind of met of us to say that we want to refer it to June 2nd and then ratify it on June 2nd and then ask staff where the report is. Got it. You've heard the intent, members of committee. Okay, so we have the motion as discussed. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Great work, everyone. Next item on our agenda is Development Services Planning Branch DS 2026-13, which is a removal of a holding provision for Queen's Landing Phase 2. May I have a motion, please? Councillor Crone, thank you. Ms. Voumvakis, would you like to present your report here, please?
Thank you very much, and Madam Chair, and this is an excellent example of what we were just talking about, how we remove an H. The lands subject to this application are south of Doan Road, east of 2nd Concession, and west of Leslie Street. The lands were draft approved some time ago, and the zoning bylaw was enacted in 2016. So you can see there's often a great lag between zoning, plan of subdivision, and getting to this stage, particularly where we have servicing constraints within a municipality. We have confirmation that surfacing capacity is available, and the applicant is actually looking to finalize their plan of subdivision agreement with us so that they can advance a registration of the plan. The application is by Minto Group, and they are looking to have the H removed because they want to advance 37 single detached dwellings. I think this is a positive sign for the economy, particularly around housing, that they're advancing this. And this will help to build out another part of their Phase 2 plan of subdivision. They will require a future H because they were short of some servicing capacity for some 4 other residential units, and they'll come back to us at a subsequent point in time when that can be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I'm just confirming what I'm reading in the report, that Minto already has this allocation, so this is not coming out of the town's limited supply, correct?
That is, through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Voumvakis, can you tell me if the H needs to be lifted in order for them to proceed with sales? Do we know this? Your microphone is off. Thank you.
Turned it off. Thank you. I honestly don't know that, but I do think that this has been a concern of theirs because I did have a discussion with them, and they were hoping we would have the report earlier because they want it to go to sales. But I'm not sure if we have any requirements with respect to that.
Because they announced that their sales office opens on Saturday. So I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if we can just encourage them to work with the region to try and get those additional 4 units. I know they're in the middle of that subdivision or in the middle of that neighborhood, and having construction happen after the fact can be quite disruptive in a new subdivision. So I hope we can encourage them to do that, to get those 4 units finished.
we actually encouraged them some time ago because they thought they had all the allocations. So they are actively pursuing this because this is not where they want it to be.
Okay, good. And the other thing is I'm just going to remind the room that we have a bit of history with this particular developer who builds without permits. And so I just want to make sure that we are monitoring this site carefully to make sure that fire break lots and so on are being maintained.
Appreciate that. And I've had the discussion with our building team.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any further questions or comments? We have a motion as presented, moved by Councillor Crone. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Next item on our agenda is Engineering and Public Works with Councillor Lahey in the chair.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. We have one item in the Department of Engineering and Public Works today, and we have Kevin Brake, Director of Engineering, filling in for General Manager Molinari. So I would like to get a mover for the Joint Engineering and Public Works and Parks, Recreation and Culture Report, EPW 2026-06, Assumption of Winged Foot Development, Inc., Phase 2, Development Subdivision 19T-95088. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Carruthers. And so I'm going to give the microphone to Director of Engineering Kevin Brake.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Acting Mayor, this is a standard assumption report for the Winged Foot Phase 2 development, which is a 173-lot subdivision located in the community of Holland Landing, south of Doan Road, between Yonge Street and Second Concession. All works to be assumed are now complete. The 13-month maintenance period has lapsed, and the development is now eligible for assumption. Staff do note there is a nominal amount of security being retained for minor works, and the development is ready to be assumed. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brake. Can I have any questions or concerns from members of council? Are there any questions for the Director of Engineering, Mr. Brake? No? Seeing none, I will then ask for a vote. All those in favor? And that is approved. And I would like to give the floor to Mr. Brake if he has any additional items that he would like to discuss with the Committee of the Whole at the moment. And I would like to take the opportunity again to thank the entire team of Engineering and Public Works who are celebrating the National Public Works Week for all of the incredible work that you do, both visible and invisible, behind the scenes, above ground and underground, keeping our municipality going. Thank you very much to every member of the team.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. The comments are appreciated. Would also like to extend our support to our Parks branch and the Parks team that are also key in delivery of frontline services to the community. So again, much appreciated, and we look forward to celebrating National Public Works Week for the remainder of the week. And as you noted, there's an event at Bales Drive, which I'm sure will be very exciting. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no other questions, we will pass the chair back to Acting Mayor DiClemente.
Thank you, Councillor Lahey. The next item on our agenda is Parks, Rec and Culture with Councillor Crone in the chair. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Roy-DiClemente. We have a few things on the agenda today, so we'll get started. First item on the agenda is the Parks and Recreation Culture Report, Active Trails, Transportation and Trails Plan Network Update. And Mr. Karmazin, could you take us through this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff have prepared a report for Council with a comprehensive update to the Active Transportation and Trails Plan to help guide the growth and the enhancement of our valued trail network. This report is in follow-up to a Council workshop that was presented late last year. The update highlights the work that has been completed to date, including over 40 kilometers of trails, over $20 million in new trail infrastructure investment. The update also provides conceptual alignments, high-level order of magnitude related to costing, prioritization for new trails infrastructure, promoting active transportation and trails, passive trails use between communities and within communities. The guiding principle document also informs the development planning process and partnership projects, in particular with York Region as well as the LSRCA. Moving forward, staff are requesting that council adopt the update in principle with a further public notification and consultation period of up to 60 days prior to bringing back the update for final approval by council and adoption by council. Be happy to answer any questions that council may have related to the report and comprehensive update to our ATTP.
Thank you, Mr. Karmazin. Before I open it up to any questions, could I have a mover for this, please? Moved by Councillor Lahey, thank you. Who would like to ask the first question? Councillor Lahey.
Thank you very much, through you, Mr. Chair. So my question is for General Manager Karmazin. You referred to $20 million of new trail investment. I'm wondering if you could provide further details about $20 million investment, because it is a large amount that's being invested, and I think the public would benefit from a better understanding of at a very high level of what that $20 million of new trail investment is being planned for.
Mr. Karmazin, please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the highlighted amount of $20 million is the past investment over the last 10 years based on our original Trails plan or Trails Master Plan. That investment is primarily due to new development in the development charges process. Those trails are built into our development charges background study, and as a part of the development planning process and the construction of new communities and new neighborhoods, that includes the investment of new trails infrastructure that would be included with those plans of subdivision, as well as linking existing communities. We always look for opportunities with new development to link to and convey people within our existing communities as well.
Thank you very much, through you, Mr. Chair, because I think it's very important for the narrative and for the optics, and that the taxpayers understand that that this is being provided from DCs, and it does not have an impact on the property taxes during our budget review. Is that correct?
Mr. Karmazin?
Through you, Mr. Chair, any of the projects that are development charge eligible would be included in our development charges background study as a part of those new neighborhoods. We do have some town-owned and operated trails that we have invested in, and an example of that is our Nokita Trail system. Those projects are included with our reserve account financing, and those are presented annually with our annual budget deliberations. So they are planned for within our budgeting process.
Thank you very much, through you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate those clarifications on ultimately who is paying for this and the range of time that it's being paid for, whether it's through DCs or whether it's through the town. Thank you very much.
Okay. Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work that's been put into this. As a council liaison to the Trails Committee, it's interesting hearing the history of our Trails Committee, how they used to just go out and here's a good place for a trail, and now we have a plan with connections and all the important things with accessibility, et cetera. I want just to highlight one part of this that I think is really important. At the beginning of every meeting, we do the land acknowledgement, and it can sometimes come across just as empty words, but when you see it incorporated into plans such as this, the land acknowledgement is there, and then it talks about that it's vital that the municipal planning process related to land, including transportation and trails plans, are informed by the town's treaty responsibilities. That really meant a lot to me, seeing that in there, so we know that we're taking our responsibility towards First Nations very seriously, and making sure that they're recognized in this way. And I just want to have some assurance that we will be doing those consultations as we move forward, because this is very important. Thank you.
Mr. Karmazin?
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely. With any of the trails that we build, we typically do trail impact studies, and that will identify the sensitivity of the lands, and in particular, our consultation with First Nations.
Okay. Councillor Foster, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment more than a question. So last term of council, I sat with the Trails Committee. I see Mr. Mazzata in the crowd, and we talked at length about the master plan and it moving forward. It's good to see that it's finally here. This is an impressive document as far as I'm concerned. It's a great roadmap for moving forward. And I guess the other thing I wanted to say was a number of years ago, most people, if they had been told that at this point we would have almost 300 kilometers of trail and another 450 ready to go, they just simply wouldn't have believed it. So I think we've come a long way, and there's lots of people to thank everywhere for that. So this is a great document and a great roadmap for moving forward. Thanks.
Any other questions? Councillor Roy-DiClemente.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As someone who sat on the committee as a volunteer and actually went out and helped actually build some of those trails, and Mr. Sanderson's here in the audience, he did even more than I did, and he'd been there even longer. I think to Councillor Foster's comments, those were the distance that we've come and the maturity that we've been able to achieve in our trails network is something that I'm tremendously proud of. This is a placemaking document. This is just as important to me as a transportation master plan. It speaks to the kind of community that we want to build and that people who are moving here want to live in, and that is having access to green space close to home and being able to access the natural heritage areas that we have safely and without having to dramatically increase our property taxes in order to do so. So for me, this is just the next step in what has been an incredible journey and a huge part of what makes EG. Mr. Chair, the only suggestion I was going to make was something that I learned earlier today, which was the value of the same-day ratification, because the 60-day comment period would start tomorrow, which would need us to ratify it later today in order to have that comment period. I know we've already had this document before us. We had a workshop with it. This is something that is not a surprise to any of us, and we've had the time to digest it. So I don't have a problem with a same-day ratification. I just wanted to suggest that. I believe it's Councillor Lahey's motion, but I just wanted to make that suggestion. Thank you.
Councillor Lahey, would you be okay with that friendly amendment?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, I just want to throw in my 2 cents, adding on to what my colleagues have said. This is a wonderful document, Mr. Karmazin, and thank you and your team for all the hard work that goes into this. This was a 500-page document? That's enormous. So thank you so much for doing that and for all the good work that you're doing. You've had a busy year with help and behind you, and now on this. There was, I don't know if it was in the document or if it was just a statistic that you shared with me, but I think it's worthy of repeating. 80% of our residents use or see value in our trails and the expansion of our trails, our trail system. That's an incredible statistic, that this one government service that we provide is so almost universally well received. So I think that's incentive for us to keep going. But okay, enough from me. All in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. On to item number 2 on our agenda. It's the Joint Parks, Recreation, Culture, and Fire Emergency Services Report, the award request for the Holland Landing Fire Station renovations. Mr. Karmazin, take us through this, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. This joint report provided with Fire and Emergency Services and was an award of tender for the reconstruction of the Holland Landing Fire Station. Parks, Recreation, and Culture staff, along with Fire and Emergency Services staff, worked together to value engineer the program for the project, define and detail out the scope of work, pre-qualify the general contractors, and procure construction services. I should note that the bid submissions for the project are very competitive, representing a very active and competitive ICI, industrial, commercial, and institutional construction industry. Staff are requesting a budget adjustment and have identified a suitable funding source to fund the project. Be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Before we get going on questions, I need a mover. Councillor Carruthers, thank you. Any questions on this? Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. Happy to move this, and I think that it's important to note that every time fire has come to us with a request to this table, it's pretty unanimous at this table supporting our fire fighters, our fire services. With this one, it's important because if you're reading through the report, we need to modernize, and the station doesn't look that old, but when you look at how our fire services is changing, it's important that these renovations happen. I also wanted to note the competitive bidding process that Mr. Karmazin referred to, that it's nice to see that. I always worry when we take the lowest bidder and they're off by a lot from the others. You're kind of wondering, what are we not getting? But seeing as they're all very competitive, I feel confident in the Frontier Group in doing this moving forward. So thank you for bringing that to us.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carruthers. Councillor Roy-DiClemente, you have a comment.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I too was pleased to see that it was a competitive bid process and was comfortable with that. I was a little bit dismayed at the increase in the budgeted amount, so that, you know, we had estimated one amount and bids came in at about over 40% higher than we had estimated. So that's a bit of a concern to me. Through you, Mr. Chair, a question to, actually, I think it'd be finance staff. We're suggesting that we fund the $328,000 variance from the facilities reserve. What did we start 2026 out with as a balance, and what's the projected balance at the end of 2026? So what are we, like, what's it looking like, the reserve balance looking like?
Mr. Marshall, would you be able to entertain that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so our balances haven't been confirmed. They'll be actually at the next council session, but right now our facilities reserve is at about $10.5 million, and based on our projections of committed amounts, by the end of 2026 we should be at about 7.1 million. So there's enough room to accommodate the increase.
But we are drawing it down by about a third in 1 year.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that's based on the approved capital projects that went through the budget process.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Lahey.
Thank you very much, through you, Mr. Chair. I want to recognize the hard work that our fire chief has been performing over the past 2 years as he completes the fire master plan that I believe we'll be receiving sooner rather than later, perhaps in the summertime, and that this is a significant improvement in the delivery of services to residents of East Gwillimbury. And I want to thank the fire chief for inviting all councillors to participate in conversations with the executive team of the EMS. And I would like to give the fire chief the opportunity to explain, for the benefit of the public, how this investment in our firefighting force will reap benefits for and improve potentially, correct me if I'm mistaken, but potentially improve the response times that were a matter of concern in your previous report.
Chief?
Through the chair to Councillor, thank you for the question. So this project or this initiative is really about modernizing the Station 2-4 in Holland Landing. Station was built some time ago. It has undergone some minor improvements or amendments over the course of time, but it's really not suitable to be occupied for a full-time career fire service 24/7. So investing in this facility to properly accommodate staff and a modern workforce, really focused on being able to ensure that it has proper facilities for a much more diverse work group that's properly suited, for full-time occupancy within the station. Obviously, transitioning to a higher level of service in that station will certainly improve the level of service directly within the Holland Landing area and in the area that station serves, and indirectly in the other areas of the town as we increase our complement force and continue to build out the service to support the growth that has occurred and the future growth that's coming in the town.
Thank you very much. Through Mr. Chair, if I may make a follow-up comment. So my understanding is correct then, and it's unfortunate that with inflation and other factors that it was higher than originally estimated. However, as the expression goes, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today. So I want to acknowledge that that there is ongoing investment and that it's critical that we continue to invest as we grow as a population in East Gwillimbury. And I look forward to receiving the fire master plan in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right, item number 3 on our agenda is the Joint Parks and Recreation Culture Report Services Memo on invasive species, and this was requested by Councillor Carruthers. Councillor Carruthers, did you want to speak to this?
Thank you. I'll move the motion to receive. I'd also like to add to the motion that staff report back specifically on what we can be doing as a town with respect to Water Soldier. And the reason I'm adding that to the motion is we all received the motion from Georgina, and they have a significant problem up there. And as we know, we're very connected to the lake, and it's only a matter of time before we're seeing it here in East Gwillimbury. So there was a number of things that they're doing that I would like to know if we can provide more support to. And I'm hoping that if our staff can look into this and devise the best way for us to be looking at Water Soldier in East Gwillimbury. And the other comment I wanted to make on this report is there was reference to a grant to have an invasive species plan, and my understanding is that we didn't receive that grant. And I just want to note that it's something that we should consider in the next budget process, or the next council should consider in the next budget process. Certainly don't want to put anything on the table that ties any future council's hands, but I do think it's something that we should be looking at. And it's about developing a plan. It's about getting expert advice on what we need to be doing. And, a little bit along the same lines as Councillor Lahey's comment about the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The best time to remove invasive species really is right now. Like, it's only going to get more expensive the longer we let some of this stuff continue to grow. So I would love to see that going forward. Like I said, that's not part of the motion. That's just a comment for staff to consider when putting forward the next budget. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for moving that. Any questions? Councillor Lahey, please go ahead.
Thank you very much through you, Mr. Chair. So I had previously drafted a motion specifically about working with other members of, there's a working group that exists, and about exploring and supporting the motion that had been put forward by Georgina Councillor, whom I've been having discussions with over the past 2 years, and whom I've taken questions about Water Soldier, specifically in East Gwillimbury, to our General Manager, Mr. Molinari, in the past to discuss what or if any action should be taken. So I think that there are multiple potential staff members who should be consulted on this. At the time that I spoke with Mr. Molinari, which was last year, he indicated to me that it was not in East Gwillimbury currently at that time. I don't know if that needs to be updated, the status of Water Soldier, but the draft that I had prepared but did not put forward at this meeting, seeing that the invasive species topic had already been put forward on the agenda, was using the motion, and I was requested by the Georgina councillor who crafted that motion to not alter it and to present it and because they are looking for other municipalities to collaborate with. So I'm still willing to put forward a motion in the future addressing water soldiers, but I think that we need to look at different aspects, including whether or not we want to join the working group, if that's a possibility, and we need to have a presentation potentially from the Lake Simcoe Regional Conservation Authority, who are their partners at this in these council chambers, and to work with the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority to present us more information, or to work with staff to provide direction.
Thank you, Councillor Lahey. Ms. Gandy, did you, I saw your hand up, did you want to respond to this?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So there is a Water Soldier working group, and we are participating as a municipality. Chris Ross, our Manager of Environmental Initiatives, is participating on that. That happened just shortly after there was a presentation to Council on invasive species. So it's a very recent development, and I believe Chris has only attended one meeting so far. So we'll have more information to share, and depending on how this motion proceeds, we'll be able to report back to Council on any of that information. And also to the point about whether or not there is a population of water soldiers in the Holland River, our latest information is that there is not. However, as part of our work, education is a key component of the work that we do, and so we're happy to look and explore further as to what we can do collaboratively with other organizations to advance that.
You had a follow-up?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to thank our general manager for providing that update, and I think it's an important step that we are now participating in this working group with our environmental specialist on staff, and that the communication. I'll be happy to report back to the Georgina councillor that I've been discussing this matter with for a couple of years now, to report back to her that yes, indeed, we are very happy to be collaborating and be part of that working group. So thank you for the update.
Great. Okay. Councillor Roy-DiClemente, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The issue of Water Soldier in Lake Simcoe and in Soldiers Bay has been one that our staff and the LSRCA have already been working on. In fact, there was an email that came from myself that went to Mr. Karmazin, Ms. Gandhi, and their associated staff, alerting them to the presentation that was given to the LSRCA board by the Invasive Species Center. There was, last year, there was a citizen reported seeing a handful of plants in Lake Simcoe, and when further investigation was done, in fact, it wasn't just a handful of plants, but in fact, there was quite a huge infestation. And the problem is not one of municipal issue, it's actually provincial and even federal. If this plant gets into municipal drinking water intakes, then there are some significant expensive infrastructure issues that are to be dealt with. There is, as I understand it, there's actually a part of our role here is also in education and making sure that the plants that are in existence in Cook's Bay don't head down into the Holland River. And I think our biggest point here and our biggest role here is in public education and sharing information with that. And to that end, there's actually a Water Soldier sign that's been sitting in my office since December because we were waiting for the good weather to be able to put it up. And in a position that it would be most dramatic and helpful to the community. I believe there is a working group that is looking to make a presentation to AMO, at AMO to the province as part of the Water Soldier Working Group. And if the province provides funding, the lead agency would be the Invasive Species Centre or the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters. It will not be LSRCA or a municipality. So the delegation and all of that work is being done through the Ontario Federation and the Invasive Species Centre. So if this body wants some information, I think then an invitation to the Invasive Species Centre for a deputation would probably be the best approach. But I'm happy to support Councillor Carruthers' motion that we simply receive this memorandum and ask staff for a further report on this so that we can support the efforts of our partners at every level. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Lahey.
Thank you very much. So would there be the possibility of a friendly amendment to extend an invitation for that organization to come and speak to council chambers?
Councillor Carruthers, this was yours.
I think that would be encapsulated in the staff report unless staff wanted us to put that specifically into the motion so we can get moving on that before a staff report comes back to us.
Who from staff would like to address that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, what I would suggest is that we would come back with, my understanding is that there would be an addition to this current amendment that's on the screen with the staff coming back with a report, correct? Right. So the report would include the communication activities that would be involved in increasing awareness about water soldiers, and that would include information to council and workshops and presentations and any means of communications, including the one that was just mentioned.
So you'll address Councillor Lahey's concerns in your report?
Yes, we will include it and take action to advance that work.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Any other questions? Certainly, from my perspective, it's amazing to hear how many eyes are actually on this topic. It's bigger than I thought it would be, so that's good. I know the Environmental Advisory Committee has touched on this, and I know through our staff liaison, Ms. Ross, we'll hear more about it through that committee. So this is, it's all good news, and I'm delighted that everyone's chiming in on it. So unless there's anything else, I will call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, and we're on to the last item now, number 4. This is Joint Parks, Recreation and Culture Corporate Services Memo on the community gardens, and this was requested by Councillor Roy-DiClemente. Would you like to chat about this?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I wanted to make sure that it was put on our public agenda, given that it was just incorporated into an information package. I look forward to receiving the community garden policy that's going to come to us at a future date once we get the gardens at the Health and Active Living Plaza up and running and see how that works. But it was really just a purpose of getting this on a public agenda rather than buried into a CIP. Thank you.
And I'll put you down as having moved this? Yes. Okay. Are there any questions on this? Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you for putting this on the agenda. I think it's important to look at how some of these things come about. The Environmental Advisory Committee last term started with the pollinator gardens, and it was very unofficial, and we did a subcommittee to try and get those up and running. Once they've been established now, we're taking the next step and formalizing it into policy. So I think it's important. I just want to shout out to the individuals who actually started with those pollinator gardens and their hard work on those and seeing this grow into something so much bigger for our community with the seeds that they planted, pun intended. I'm happy to see this coming forward. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on this? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Mr. Carmison, do you have anything left before I hand it back to the chair? Do you have anything else that you would like to share with committee?
Through you, Mr. Chair, nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Committee, do you have anything that you'd like to ask of Mr. Carmison? Seeing none, I will hand it back to you, Madam Acting Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Crone. The next item on our agenda is item J, which is Legal and Legislative Services, which would normally have Mayor Haxon in the chair, and so I will chair this portion of our meeting. And the first item on our agenda is Legal and Legislative Services Report 2026-06 regarding the request to stop up, close, declare surplus, and sell Jeffery, a portion of Jeffery Crescent. May I have a mover to get this on the table, please? Moved by Councillor Lahey. Thank you very much. Ms. Ingram, would you like to present your report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. This is an administrative report coming out of LLS to stop up and close Jeffery Crescent. The report reflects a deliverable of the town, which arises from a settlement reached between the town and ATC CAP after the matter went through the OLT. A bit of background to share with council members. The original application by ATC CAP was for a development of 14 townhouses. They needed a ZBA and a draft plan of subdivision to make that happen. On February 2nd, 2024, ATC CAP appealed the matter to the OLT because the town had not made a decision. Case conferences were attended by town staff with ATC CAP in that process in September of 2024 and September of 2025. As a result of those case conferences over that 2-year period, the parties reached a settlement, which was in principle at that time in February of 2026, 2 years later from the beginning. They signed minutes of settlement, and they also signed an agreement of purchase and sale, which would reflect land transfers from one party to the other. The ATC CAP proposal was modified during that time from the 14 townhouse original contemplated plan to an assisted living facility, which it's now in the situation it is now planned to be. Council basically on February 20, 2026 in its recommendations agreed and authorized us to stop up and close the road. Even though all of Jeffery Crescent will be basically closed from basically Doan Road down, only a portion of that Jeffery Crescent will be transferred to the applicants. If it would help, perhaps we could refer to Appendix 1 of the report, just so I can give you a précis of what parts of the Jeffery Crescent is going from one party to the other.
Madam Clerk, can you put that on the screen for us, please?
Just bear with us. We're just pulling it up.
Go ahead, Ms. Ingram.
There it is. Thank you, Madam Clerk. For those visually challenged, the top part is 5, the middle part is part 6, and the bottom part, strangely enough, is part 4. So Part 5, down to all of the blue, basically, is going to be stopped up and closed. So that road will be closed in its entirety. Only Part 4, being the southern part of the diagram there, will be conveyed to the applicant. The town's going to retain the road in Part 5, so the uppermost, the northern part of that, those 3 parts, so we'll retain that. And Part 6 will be eventually conveyed to the region of York in respect of the realignment of Doan Road, as I understand it. Please understand that I wasn't the lawyer involved in any of the planning applications. We had external counsel, so if my knowledge is suspect, it's because I wasn't the counsel on it. But I'm giving you some perspective in order for you to understand why we're closing up the entire road. We are also asking for same-day ratification of this stop up and closing of the road for the following reason. When the parties entered into the minutes of settlement and the agreement of purchase and sale in order to do the land exchanges, they agreed that the agreement of purchase and sale, so the sale transaction could not occur before the bylaw to stop up and close the road was done. So that is the reason we've asked for same-day ratification, because the parties wish to close the real estate transaction on June 1st. That is late-breaking information. It was, unfortunately, to me. So we put this report in front of you, and that is why we're seeking same-day ratification today for the bylaw to be enacted today, so that on June 1, the parties, through which we're using Loopstra Nixon as our external counsel, they will effect the closing of that transaction. To go back, I think I missed a little part of the transaction of the land exchange. Basically, we will be retaining Part 5, but land adjacent to Part 5 will be conveyed by the developer to us, and that's part of the settlement, which is reflected in public minutes that would be on the website for the town of East Gwillimbury, in case one of our members of public would like a little bit more information. The recommendations that council made back when, basically 2 months ago, they're on the public website, as I understand it. Finally, there is one last thing I would like to say, that there is one adjacent landowner that's at the south end of the blue that's reflected on your screen. So basically, at the very south of the Jeffery Crescent, that landowner, as I have confirmed through our planning department, the landowner's access will not be impacted by the closure of the road, and that particular landowner has been, the matter has been discussed with him, and he is aware of the road closure, and he has indicated that he has no concerns. So if on that, again, I'm seeking same day, your authorization to stop up and close the road, and I would be happy to answer any questions if I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Do members of committee have any questions? Councillor Carruthers, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I seem to remember that there may be some community mailboxes on Jeffery Crescent. Can we just make sure that people will still have access to them, or that they're moved, or whatever happens there?
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Kevin Brake, who's with us today, could probably speak to that much better than I could if I can ask him to address it. Thank you, Councillor Carruthers.
Mr. Brake.
Certainly, as through you, Madam Chair, yes, we are working with Canada Post to have those mailboxes relocated and to ensure that they are accessible to members of the public. And we'll obviously communicate that move so everyone knows where to go.
Thank you very much. One other comment. Normally, I don't like same-day ratification. I hear why we need it, but also I drove along there the other day, and from a liability standpoint, we need to get that stopped up and closed as soon as possible. It's a bit of a disaster, and certainly we shouldn't be putting any money to improve it at this point. So I'm happy to approve the same-day ratification.
Thank you. Councillor Foster, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'll take a little bit of a different approach on this one. And again, not that I am against the stop up, close up. We've gone down the road with this one, but the realignment of that intersection by the region, I believe, is still 8 or 10 years away. I don't know if we have any traffic counts that says the amount of people that actually use that southern section of Jeffery Crescent. But I'm wondering if, when that's closed up, is that going to put extra pressure on the messed up intersection that's already there? And are we prepared to pressure the region to try and do any sort of improvements they can to make that intersection a little bit better for the 8 or 10 years or whatever it might be before that proper realignment gets done? I know that there are a number of people, when they're coming west across the Doan Road, will actually take that south part, make a right-hand turn onto Leslie Street, go north, and then make another left back onto Doan Road because it's too hard to cross there. So we all know that it's a really messed up intersection. Closing that southern portion may make that a little bit worse. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking, how do we handle having a good look at that and making sure the region knows that we're on it?
Mr. Brake, did you want to take a stab at that one?
Certainly, yes, through you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the comment, and we'll follow up with the region to ensure the intersection concerns are adequately addressed.
I wonder if it might actually start to meet warrants soon, given that there's so much growth happening north of there. Just amusing aloud. Sorry, Mr. Brake. Go ahead, Councillor Crone.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. Just for the record, Councillor Foster stole my question, and but
Madam Clerk, you've noted.
Is this? I appreciate this is serious. It's a nasty traffic area. We saw a tragic incident earlier, not too long ago. Do we need something more, with some more teeth, to send to the region that we're very serious about this? It's to Councillor Foster's point. I don't believe this is in the region's 10-year capital plan, and maybe we need to shout a little louder to get it moved up, because this concerns me that it's not a safe area. The traffic is not declining; it's increasing, and so I throw it out to my colleagues. Do we need to throw out a motion, something with a little more teeth? I'd like to send the message forth from here that this is not acceptable. Just waiting for them to do something. We need to say something.
Okay, can we, is that about, okay, so what I'd like to suggest is that we deal with Ms. Ingram's report, and then before we move on, maybe we can craft a resolution for staff to do something with us. So any further questions about stop up, close, and sell the portion of Jeffery Crescent? I have a motion as presented by Councillor Lahey. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Now, the intersection of Doan Road and Leslie Street. Councillor Foster, since you raised it, would you like to make a motion along the lines of requesting that staff prepare a resolution for our consideration regarding safety at that intersection and enhancements or improvements that could be made?
I certainly would, and I think that maybe that needs to start very simply by just saying, can we get confirmation where it is on the region's plan, and what parameters do we have to meet to make a good, strong case to move it forward?
Madam Clerk, you've heard the intent of that. Staff, any questions or concerns before I put that forward? Oh, Councillor Carruthers, my apologies. I was looking the other direction. Go ahead.
No worries. I'm just wondering if we're putting a motion forward to send to the region, I'm wondering if we can talk about how the barricade along there has not been replaced since the accident. And I know staff have reached out to the region on numerous occasions, and there is a steep drop-off, and there's traffic cones before that steep drop-off.
Lord.
And I really think that maybe something from council might get a little bit more attention, because I know staff are trying their best to get the region to move forward on that. And it's been a month now since that accident, I think. So I think we need to make sure that guardrail is put back in place as well. So I'd like that secondary to this motion, if that would be okay.
Staff, how can we help?
Well, I would suggest the items that have been proposed may be helpful. Certainly, I can advise too, if it is helpful, reviewing the region's 10-year capital plan. The intersection is in the 10-year, just at 2035. The intersection only, not the entire, improvements to Doan Road and realignment. So I would say, at your pleasure, I guess what you would like to ask the region to do and expedite. Everything helps, right?
So it sounds like we have an urgent safety issue that we would like addressed. And then if we've been asking gently and nothing is happening, then maybe we need to pass a resolution for that today. With the same day. So perhaps we can ask staff to bring something to us this evening. That way, rather than doing something now and then ratifying it, then perhaps we can have something brought to us about the urgent safety concern, not necessarily the 10-year capital improvement project. That one can be done later, I think. Given that it's 2035, then we're trying to get it to move up a little sooner. But the fact is that we've got a missing a metal barricade that's an imminent safety issue. Staff? Mr. Valchich, I'm looking to you.
So, Madam Chair, I'm understanding the imminent concern is the replacement of that barrier.
Yes.
And that be expedited and
Yes.
not be simply noted with orange cones. And so I think we can come up with some language to incorporate into the resolution to do that. It makes a
Okay.
lot of sense.
So we've got that motion, and we'll do that now. And then do we want to do a second motion for the 10-year capital and the intersection improvements and sort of the longer-term changes? Yes, okay.
I am
Madam
happy
Clerk,
to
go ahead.
make that motion, that we also encourage the region to, in a timely manner, address that because of the possible implications of the report that we are about to receive, about to vote on receiving today. The
Okay.
original report from our town solicitor, which I moved.
Yes, so we've already dealt with the original report
Yeah.
from the town solicitor, and I was really just trying to work with the issue that Councillor Foster raised and that Councillor Carruthers raised. So I think we've got, let's do Councillor Carruthers' imminent safety issue. All those in favor? That motion carries. Mr. Valchich?
Madam Chair, just so we're clear, so we can come back with something that suits you, I'm understanding we'll deal with that one first. And then secondly, that we get some information about the status of the timing of the project, try and get that expedited to the degree possible. And I would also suggest that between now and reconstruction, that the region be asked to actively continue monitoring volumes, warrants, any safety concerns to
Yes.
ensure that if timing needs to be further expedited based on data, that also be take place. Because we don't know if the situation could be, we say 8 years instead of 10, we say great, but if the situation warrants it in 4 years, that needs to be actively monitored.
Well, what I said earlier was that it may be that the traffic volumes actually warrant signalization now, which would solve the, a quick issue. But I think that was the spirit of Councillor Foster's motion, was that staff would bring a memo with a recommendation for committee's consideration to pass that would include all of those things, rather than us trying to draft it here at the moment, but just simply ask staff to come back to us with something for us to pass that would advocate for change in that location. Councillor Lahey, go ahead.
So are you suggesting, through you, Madam Chair, that we give staff more time?
Yes, that
to
was
create this?
Yes,
so
that was
that
the intent.
we look to June 2nd, perhaps, the first meeting in June, rather than later today, to give them some time.
Precisely.
Okay. I'm supportive of that.
Great.
That motion, yes.
We've heard the intent here, members of committee. It's moved by Councillor Foster. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, on that one. Then we have, Ms. Ingram, we've got a busy day with you. I didn't realize there's more here. We got two more. Legal and Legislative Services memo, use of corporate resources for election policy. This was a memorandum. I requested that it be added, simply to be added to the public record, since we get lots of conversations about what is permitted and what isn't permitted during an election period. Did anyone want to, Ms. Ingram, did you have anything further to add to it? Not at this time. Members of committee, any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Carruthers.
I mentioned this when this first came up a number of years ago. What are the repercussions for this? Because having policies with no teeth means that just the rule followers who are following the rules, and the people who don't want to follow the rules just don't follow the rules. So is the teeth in this? How is this enforced?
Ms. Ingram or Madam Clerk, who'd like to take it? Madam Clerk, go ahead,
Through
please.
you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that question, Councillor Carruthers. I guess the priority one is to talk about what is the intent of the policy. So this policy is intended to prevent the improper use of town resources for campaign purposes, and to ensure that the town does not provide an unfair advantage or contribution to any candidate. Now, with respect to enforcement, the policy establishes an administrative complaint and review process. If a complaint is received, it is submitted in writing to the clerk with supporting information. It will then be reviewed in consultation with the CAO and the town solicitor, subject to Section 5 of the policy. While it does authorize the clerk to do the reviewing of the complaints and issue interpretive guidance to individuals regarding the application of the policy, neither the policy nor the legislation, being the Municipal Elections Act, provide the clerk the authority to impose penalties or make binding determinations regarding election offenses under the Act. So usually questions regarding compliance with the offenses under the Elections Act are ultimately addressed through the legislative process established under the Act itself. So that could include a compliance audit committee if there is reason to believe that someone has contravened certain contributions within that section. Or outside of this policy, there are enforcement mechanisms in relation to the election sign bylaw. But generally speaking, this is more of an administrative policy to ensure that individuals understand that within the context of what they're doing, they are not to be using any town resources, and the town does not appear to be contributing to those individuals. To further provide clarity, my office actually issued an interpretive bulletin on Friday to all registered candidates and individuals that have been making inquiries about the policy and the interpretation of it. And that interpretive bulletin is available on electionseg.ca. And just to kind of clarify, some of the questions pertained to the use of personal pictures with incidental like backgrounds that would include municipal facilities or such as the Civic Center or anything of that nature. Again, using that picture in itself does not necessarily constitute, an infraction under the policy. However, if the picture contains town logo or any identifiers, then the candidate would have to review and take it down. So really the policy is asking candidates to be mindful of that, to ensure that if they are taking pictures, they're not putting the town crest, the town logo, or any of those identifiers. The background could be of the Civic Center, but just be mindful of those types of identifiers within the picture itself.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. But there really is no penalty for doing that. So I know this memo went out, and I was surprised to see online campaigning in a park with a crest right there. So there's no penalty for that. That's so that I just, as some candidates are working so hard to remove logos from any of their pictures that they're using, and then others are just with their candidate cards in a town park with right in front of the sign. So just trying to understand, is this something that we should all be following, or is this just for the people who want to follow the rules and other people it doesn't apply to?
Through you, Madam Chair, the only advice I have is that all candidates and registered third parties are individually responsible to ensure that they are abiding by town policies and any applicable legislation pertaining to this election. So really, the risk is on the candidate, and potentially, an avenue that individuals may decide to take would be through the Joint Compliance Audit Committee, should they believe that a particular town resource was inappropriately being used as a contribution factor. But again, there would have to be a lot of evidence supporting that. So the only advice I have is to ensure that individuals read through all of our applicable policies and procedures and work through that, and that has been communicated with all registered candidates as well.
Thank you very much.
There may also be an opportunity for the clerk through election communication to also share the rules and obligations that candidates have to adhere to. And so rather than, to Councillor Carruthers' point, the punitive aspect, but simply to say, while you're checking on to see whether you're on the voters list, did you also know that these are the rules that candidates have to adhere to? And so that way it allows members of the public to understand who is and who isn't following those rules, rather than to put the onus on you and your staff and a joint audit committee that takes place after the election has concluded. So that's for your consideration, I think might be another option for you to look at. I neglected to get a mover for this. Councillor Lahey, I noticed you got your hand up. Are you also okay to move receipt? Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair. So my question is for the clerk. And with regard to the process, when individuals are making appointments to come to the clerk's office to submit nomination papers to be a candidate in the election process, at that time, I think it would be helpful for everyone to understand what information does the clerk provide to potential candidates when they're submitting their nomination papers with regard to the use of corporate resources, as well as sign issues or the processes basically that all candidates need to be following. So I know that you've offered 2 courses to the public, virtually or in person, if for candidates considering running. But could you just speak to a little bit about what the clerk's department provides in terms of policies and procedures for anyone who may be considering being a candidate or has already embarked on that journey?
Through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted to confirm if it is appropriate to address that, given that this particular memo doesn't address the protocol surrounding the nomination appointment. Would that be permitted for me to address?
So are we, I guess, committee, I think we're maybe getting a little bit off topic. So we've got a use of corporate resources election policy here. versus what happens when a candidate files their paperwork. So,
Very good. If I may, through you, Madam Chair, rephrase my question.
Okay.
And just make it more specific. So do you provide this election policy on the use of corporate resources to all candidates who are submitting nomination papers?
Through you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that clarification, Councillor Lahey. So through the nomination appointments, all individuals who are registering will receive a candidate package, which will include a series of guides, policies, bylaws. For instance, the use of corporate resources policy, the interpretive bulletin that was issued last week. In addition to that, there will be other guides from the province that will be shared with individual members, as well as other material that are namely in relation to the administration of the election. So those are clearly communicated to all registered candidates. In addition to that, most of the content is also available online on electionseg.ca, so we tend to communicate that publicly as well. And throughout the election process, all registered candidates will receive consistent communication from my office to ensure that every and all changes or any protocols or policies that need to be communicated are appropriately done so. And the same information is also shared with our town staff to ensure that everybody is equipped with the right knowledge area. I hope that addresses the question that you have with respect to this.
I think
Yes,
so.
very much. So
Okay.
thank you. Yeah.
All right, any further questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion as presented to be received by Councillor Lahey. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Last item on the agenda under Legal and Legislative Services is the outstanding items list. Thank you. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Crone has moved it. This was really, I requested that it be put on the agenda just as an advisement, for transparency as well. I didn't have any questions or comments. Does anyone else have any? Councillor Lahey, go ahead.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Chair. So mine is more of a comment combined with a question, which is the purpose of an outstanding council items list. If we are not how often do we look through the outstanding council items list, and what is the purpose of having one if it's just carried on for years and years and years? I'm genuinely trying to understand the purpose of having outstanding council items and why they're not being addressed on a more regular basis, and if they should be addressed on a more regular basis rather than being left on a list for potentially years. So.
Mr. Valchich and then Councillor Carruthers.
Madam Chair, first of all, staff don't arbitrarily leave items on a list for years and years and years. So just to be clear, that actually doesn't happen. So what does happen is staff make best efforts to deal with all items within the timelines that are noted and expected by council. And in fact, when you're passing resolutions, occasionally we'll comment to suggest we think that's too ambitious, or we'd prefer that to be delayed for one reason or another. Or in many cases, you may have a timeline that in fact we can do better than. And so we come back ahead of schedule if we're able to do that. So I just wanted to make that clear. And the purpose for having the comments and the updates is that sometimes there's circumstances that are beyond our control. Sometimes there's reasons that could be other reasons why an item particularly might be delayed. I think what's important is that we communicate those updated expectations to council so that you know that the items are not forgotten and that we're continuing to make best efforts to deal with all those items. So I just wanted to provide that bit of clarity.
Once upon a time, they were every meeting. Councillor Carruthers.
Thank you. This was something I pushed for last term for accountability and transparency. Sometimes we would move an item and then, a few months later, you're like, oh, whatever happened with that? And you'd have to go back and dig through and find out whatever happened with that, contact the staff member, only to find out that there was something beyond their control and it was coming the following month. So this just helps us with that. I asked for it monthly originally, and we were told it would be twice a year, which I said wasn't enough. Now I think we're getting it quarterly. So when it comes forward, I believe it should be on the agenda. It should not be in the council information package. And it's our opportunity to take a look at it and ask those questions of staff, either in chambers or ahead of time. So when it came in our council information package a few weeks ago, I noticed we had passed a bunch of those dates. So I spoke with staff and said, what about these things that are due, last year? What are we doing with those? And so I had in my notes here to thank staff for going back through that and cleaning up that list. So I would love to see this come more often. I would love to see it on the agenda when it does come forward. I've not been in favor of the council information package. I think between Councillor Roy-DiClemente, myself, and Councillor Lahey, we keep asking for everything, that all the memos to be put on an agenda. And I'm wondering if there's an appetite to have a motion that we just ask staff to put all of those information items on a future agenda. It saves us time in asking every single, I guess it's every 2 weeks when we get that council information package, making sure it gets on here. Because these are things that not only should we see, but the public should see. And I know they're publicly available if you know where to go and you know where to look. But a lot of them are really good news stories. And I appreciate that staff were trying to streamline the process and control the length of our meetings. I shouldn't say control, that's a bad word. I mean, streamline our meetings. And some of these things aren't, be all and end all, but I think they're good to know. So, Madam Acting Mayor, would it be appropriate to put a motion on the table, since we're talking about council outstanding items, to put a motion on the table asking that this come straight to council rather than going through the council information package? Or would you rather we had a motion that asked for all the East Gwillimbury memos that are in the council information package automatically be put on the next agenda?
I will entertain either one of those motions. It's whichever one you'd like to make.
Okay, I think to save us all some time, I'd put a motion on the table that all memos and all East Gwillimbury memos, I know the council information package also has regional and other municipalities, all the East Gwillimbury specific memos in the council information package be put on the next appropriate agenda.
Any questions on the motion? We've heard the motion. Madam Clerk, you've captured it, I'm hoping.
Councillor Jones.
Okay, Councillor Johns, go ahead, please.
Thanks. So, thank you, Councillor Carruthers, for tabling it. It's an interesting discussion. I think that clearly we are in a need of an overall procedural bylaw review. I noticed that there were some items on the agenda, I'm not sure if it was one or two of them, that committee members actually didn't even speak to. And so the thing is that now we're coming into, well, if we're trying to find efficiencies, but committee wants to talk about something else, then we should be looking at a consent agenda. And so the thing is that there could be items in the future where staff will automatically prepare these items, they will come through onto council, and we won't even speak to them. But I understand to your point about being on the public record, but I do think that this piece of the, what I'll say, the agenda puzzle or the procedural bylaw in itself is a much larger issue, or let's say a much larger opportunity to review what transparency looks like. So to that end, I will vote no on the motion as it is, but the reason why I'm voting no is because I believe that we need a larger procedural bylaw review, but I don't believe that it's appropriate at this time. So there you go. Thank you.
I tend to agree with you, Councillor Johns. I've been asking for a consent agenda for quite some time. The challenge is that the clerk is now in the midst of administering a municipal election, and so asking her to review our procedural bylaws.
And which I
which is like we all would like that. That's where we would like to go. And I think that with the next term of council, that is an appropriate time to start a new term of council with a revised bylaw that works for that council. So I will also comment that you have used the word opportunity 10 times today, Councillor Johns. So congratulations.
Positive, pragmatic, progressive. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor moved by Councillor Carruthers. Any further comment? Go ahead, and then I saw your hand too, Councillor Lahey.
I just wanted to speak to the comment on committee didn't speak to. And even when we don't speak to a motion, it often there is conversations that happen around that, either with staff or between councils or with members of the public. So because we don't speak to it necessarily in chambers, doesn't mean that it's not important that it's there. And I too have been asking for a consent agenda for a long time. And so this would be the Band-Aid solution until we get that. I had originally, when I wrote a motion on this, said to the end of this term, knowing that next term we would have that operational bylaw review. So I think for the balance of this term, in an effort for more transparency and accountability until we can get to an operational bylaw review, that's why I'm putting this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lahey?
And I would like to echo those comments that I think in the meantime, before we have an ideal solution that will take much more effort and time from staff, that in the meantime, we improve the situation and include all of the EG memos, and then leave it to the councillors to review the councillor information package to see if there are if there's any other information from the region or the province or any other source that we will ask specifically to add to the agenda. So I think it's an excellent compromise in the meantime.
Thank you, everyone. Mr. Valchich, anything further to add?
Madam Chair, certainly we're happy to make those adjustments if that is what committee would like. I do want to just address, though, a couple of points. The CIP process was partly to ensure efficiency and effectiveness of the use of committee's time and council's time, but it wasn't done. I think I heard the word buried before, that there was a CIP memo buried. What I can tell you is the promotion of these memos is robust. So all of our individuals that are on the town distribution list for the EG newsletter get actively sort of pointed towards any of these information memos. I'd have to double check, but my understanding when we look at the data, because we do look at the data as to where people are getting their information, we're getting literally hundreds of sort of views of this sort of information compared to the number of folks that might see that watching like a CWC or a council. So we're happy to do it, but I did want to point out, just so there wasn't the impression that these were sort of being hidden or not transparently available. In fact, we actively promote them because it is important. And I think that's what I'm hearing from council members, that this information needs to be out there.
Thank you, Mr. Valchich. If it was me who used the word buried, I think it's simply because it has introduced an additional step into my workflow in order to find this information, and I think that does a disservice to the staff member who put time and effort into crafting and to drafting those reports. That they deserve to see as many eyeballs as possible. So, with that, I've got a motion from Councillor Carruthers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you. Well, that was a robust conversation. Thank you. So that's the end of our prepared agenda under Legal and Legislative Services. Ms. Ingram, do you have anything further to add? Okay. There are no items listed under items K through O of the agenda. If there are no updates, I will move to item P, adjournment. So, Madam Clerk, go ahead, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted to advise committee members with respect to the upcoming June meetings.
Yes.
I know that there was a communication that was circulated to members of council for considerations of some proposed time changes for June. Again, the basis for that, and through discussions with the CAO and our senior management team, we have identified several significant and important time-sensitive matters that council would require some time to consider. And as a result of that, we were hoping to adjust the June 2nd council meeting start time from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and also to ask members of the committee today if you have a preference for a 10 a.m. or a 1 p.m. start to the June 23rd Committee of the Whole meeting. Really, we're just hoping to seek that clarification today and do that through a motion, same-day ratification, so that we can make the changes on the website and reissue all of the applicable notices for the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members of committee, where would you like to go with this? Councillor Lahey, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that that staff and senior management are taking into consideration the weight and the importance of certain matters on upcoming agendas, because I think that there's a risk when we have some agendas that are quite light, and then there are others that are significantly heavier with critical and important decisions that need to be made that are the result of perhaps years or at least months of work on behalf of the staff. I would feel badly if we literally get too tired or to the point of supersaturation. So I think it is a great idea to spread it out and to give us more time so that there's the opportunity for appropriate breaks during meetings or in between meetings, and that we look towards future agendas, always keeping that into top of mind, because I don't want to reach a point of tiredness when discussing complex issues, some of which may be even in closed session, that we don't feel any rush to make decisions that are of such consequence and time-sensitive nature. So I am fully in support of adjusting the times to what has been recommended by our CAO and appropriate staff with regard to future meetings in June.
Thank you, Councillor Lahey. Just a moment, Mr. Valchich. So at this point, we've got a recommendation to move our council meeting from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. That I think I'm seeing nods from people. Everyone seems to be okay. June 23rd, is it?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, June 23rd. It's the
Okay.
Committee of the Whole, and we're just simply asking if a 10 a.m. start would be better or a 1 p.m.
Members of committee, can I have some feedback on that? And then maybe we can do one resolution and ratify that. Go ahead, Councillor Carruthers.
To Councillor Leahy's point, I think moving it up to 10 to give us that extra time makes sense. I do note that we have in our calendar Seniors Month flag raising at 1. I know these things can be moved around, but I just want to note that.
So that would give us some flexibility as well. So at this point, we've got June 2nd at 4 p.m. and June 22nd at 10 a.m. Mr. Valchich.
Madam Chair, thank you. Just to express appreciation to committee for being flexible on this, I just want to also extend appreciation to the senior management team, and particularly to the clerk's office that leads our agenda review process. We do our best to try and balance out the agendas, and we've heard that feedback many times to try and make sure that we are sort of effectively dealing with the agenda management. And in this case, the senior management team, under the sort of guidance and facilitation of our clerks team, has looked out over the next few months to try and anticipate so that we don't end up with a July meeting that has 80% of the reports on it when we've got 4 or 5 meetings left. So I know this is going to be a busy June, but I just wanted to reassure you that that we are doing our best to try and balance it, but this was a little bit unavoidable, and really appreciate the flexibility. Thank you.
Team EG in action. Councillor Lahey, you've made the motion. So we've got the times as amended, that the committee and council agenda be amended, and that we would ratify this at our meeting later this evening. Councillor Carruthers, any discussion on the motion?
Yes, if these are very heavy agendas, I would simply request that staff send us any large reports out ahead of time, because it becomes a lot to try and get through the whole agenda when you know it's going to be big and heavy. So if you can send us a few key reports a few days early, that would be much appreciated. Thanks.
You get better feedback that way. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. So now may I adjourn? May I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councillor Johns. Be it resolved that we are adjourned at 4:13 p.m. All those in favor? And that motion carries. So we have been sitting here for 2 hours and 13 minutes. We do have a special council meeting scheduled, and I'm hoping that we can do that at 4:30, give everybody a chance to spread their legs. And so we will be back here at 4:30. Thank you very much.